guys, welcome to the video, welcome back to the channel. And as you can see, the EP3 is up on the lift and I've got Dave here from Motion Motorsport because it is that time. It is finally happening. The car is getting pulled apart because it's getting a full underside treatment from Motion Motorsport. So Dave, I just thought I'd get you in here to explain what is actually going on here.
Obviously today we get the car in, it's covered in water and rain because the weather's typically British, which is lovely. But we get the car in today and we'll strip it all down, get all the panels off, the fuel tanks off, all the suspension components off it, just so we've got a bit of a blank canvas to work from as such. And we'll try and dry it off as best we can as well whilst it's in here. And then hopefully make a start with getting the grinder out, which is obviously not a great job to do, but needs must, and it is what it is.
This is obviously off of the back of me coming down, I don't even know how many months ago it was now.
It was a while ago.
Yeah, to get the whole car looked at underneath to assess what was actually going to be needed. So that is obviously what you recommend doing, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously because every car is different, it's very hard to give like a blanket cost, because a lot of cars now have been undersealed already, which typically means someone's put it up in the air and gone and sprayed crap all over the bottom of it, which traps loads of moisture in and then makes our job really difficult at this stage. And you imagine trying to grind a metal panel with nothing attached to it, the metal cleans up really quite easily. When you try and grind a panel that's got rubbery, oily crap all over it, it just spreads that everywhere, and then it hides a load of sins, hides issues that you would normally be able to see, and makes the prep stage much, much longer. And so obviously when we had your car in initially, you need to make sure that when we're going to do the underside, is it a case of just prepping it, there's no rust, treating everything and protecting it, or are we repairing bits? Are there issues with the car currently that you want to repair along the way that makes it cheaper and more cost effective for you to do it at this stage than it is to protect it and then come back and start taking bits back off again to replace it? So obviously we made a bit of a plan to come back X amount of months down the line, repair the bits that we found, do the protection side, and obviously we're going to do the powder coated set with new bushes and bearings and things as well. So the underside should look like a brand new car when it's finished, and it gives you an idea of how long it will take, the costs involved, rather than coming here and me giving you a price, then going, actually it needs both sills, both rear arch panels, floor pan repairs, fill and X, bushes, blah, 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 blah. A quote can turn into double that quite quickly if you don't come and see us first. And obviously it makes our life much easier booking things into the diary when we have an allotted amount of time. So if we book something in for a week and it's actually 4 weeks worth of work, things just pile up outside. It makes it really difficult for us. So yeah, coming to see us first is well worth doing, and it means that you can plan this stage. There's no rush or no merit to rush anything of this nature, because it takes a lot of time to do, a lot of effort, a lot of money, and you want to make sure that you're making the best job that you possibly can in one go rather than revisiting things.
If you haven't seen the video where this whole car got looked at that time, go check that out first. But also off the back of that video, that is what has ended up with me today here, with also choosing to do the full underside like powder coating and everything, because basically off the back of that I was like, well, if everything's coming off anyway, like it seems crazy not to do it now.
Yeah.
Although it's another big chunk of money, it'll be even more if you were to do it later down the line.
Absolutely, yeah. And with all the best will in the world, it looks really sad when you put old rusty bits back onto a really nicely finished underside. So yes, it's an amount of money additionally, but if you plan things properly and you're going to the extent of spending X amount of pounds on the car anyway, it makes sense to just defer the point in time when you have the car booked in and just wait 2 months later, 3 months later, whatever it might be, and then just commit to spending that additional money, because I promise you it makes such a difference to how the bottom of the car looks, and obviously it'll drive brand new as well. As a residual selling point, it's great. From a point of view, then you drive the car, it's great, and it doesn't look like ass when you've put loads of old bits back on the bottom of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was the main thing for me, was that I knew that having all this stuff done, if I was to then put it back, it would just drive the same way and also not look as good, considering how much time and effort.
Everyone needs that little bit of a pat on the back when you do things. So like if you do anything to the underside of the car, fundamentally most of it you can't see, but if when you're driving it you can feel a difference, and when you have a look through the wheel arch and you can see all new bits everywhere, then it almost makes you feel less...
It's not really cheated out of money, but it feels like what you've done is
you've got
worth it.
like a tangible asset, if that makes sense, rather than something you're just driving around and not really feeling any difference.
Yeah.
Obviously, fundamentally, you need to make a car safe and protect it for a long period of time. If you've got that in your mind anyway, and you're putting the old bits back on, it doesn't really matter, because you've still achieved what you wanted to achieve. But I think fundamentally, everyone wants to look at something and go, that looks the tits, rather than look at it and go, well, it's okay for an MOT.
Yeah, exactly. As you can see, the boys are already literally stripping this thing down. You just saw the side skirt come off, and it's literally teardown day. Everything is coming off the bottom of this thing, and it's going to be the first time I've ever seen the car this bare as well. So obviously I'm going to take you through the entire process of this. So I guess there's nothing left to it. Let's get on to ripping this car apart. Arch liners are out. So much of the car is apart already. Rear bumper is off. I don't actually know the last time I saw this car without the rear bumper on. So interesting to see the rear crash bar. It's a bit surface rusty. May not be too bad, not sure. But we've got side skirts off here. We've got the rear bumper off here. We've got the front bumper off here, front grille and slam panel there, and obviously we've got the RPF ones here as well. And yeah, the car's looking pretty bare. It's looking like a normal Civic at the moment rather than a Type R, but as you can see here, this was my undersealing job, so I apologise to the guys in advance about this, because obviously this is the bit that Dave was talking about. So as you can see, we've got some holes in there, so all this stuff is getting sorted. This is crazy because this is the first time this Progress rear anti-roll bar has been off the car since it actually went on. It's just crazy having everything come apart. All the years of hard work, it feels like it's all being undone now, and I guess it doesn't feel at this point like it's going to be any better, but obviously the end result is going to be amazing. Just weird seeing all the parts I put on over the years coming off. So I've actually known about this damage for quite a long time, since I think taking the front bumper off the first time, but as you can see here, this happened before I owned the car. But what it has actually done, which I've only just found out, is you can see this is supposed to be straight. So basically this whole bit needs tweaking this way to be dead straight again. So it's just ever so slightly pinched just up there. So obviously something's hit it down there and pushed it like that. Something that I find hilarious is, as you can see, dotted across the floor are just the bolts from my car. It doesn't matter where they've come from, because the joy of going with the full nut and bolt replacement is obviously everything that's going on is going to be brand new. But it's just funny, like, not picking it up and going, oh, I must remember where this comes from. I just get chucked on the floor. I'm just chuckling to myself as it happens. And just like that, guys, the car is completely stripped down. For some sort of context, it is currently, right now, 12:30. It's probably taken about an hour and a half to get to this point from me, the car literally driving in. It's pretty mental. So I've got Jake here. Just as a rough overview, how was it to pull apart? Is this one all right?
Pretty decent, to be fair. Yeah. You normally get the odd seize bolt. Subframe's a bit tight to come off, but other than that, it was mint. Quite a common one is the tank strap bolts. They always seize in, so you have to cut out and repair them. But like I said, they've all come out, so it's nice. Normally with an untouched car, nothing comes out.
Wow, okay, that's
But obviously, suspension-wise, we've had the suspension off in this prior, so we know it should come apart all right.
On a scale of 1 to 10 of, because obviously you do a load of these, so where does this fall, would you say?
In terms of
just the underside condition and I guess the ease of it coming apart?
Yeah, I would say this is a good 8.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
nice.
A good 8, yeah. Like I said, we've noticed a few little bits on it. As I say, the arch panels, to be expected now from these. Still a few bits we need to strip off yet, such as brake lines, fuel lines and handbrake cables. Once they're out the way, we can actually get into it. Boot floor, decent. These, very common area for rot in here. But as you can see, yours is pretty perfect, really. There's hardly any rot at all on there.
I'll take that.
These, quite common. All your chassis rail points and that, always a bit scabby here. So once we take these back, we might have to put a little piece in repair and strengthen that again. Same here, a little bit. Arch panels, everybody knows. Famous arch panels, check behind your speakers, dead common. So to be expected. But sill-wise, you've got all your bung holes. Normally, they're one great big hole, so that helps a lot. Nice. So they seem solid either side. Previous, in the past, it's been jacked up in the incorrect place. It's a bit of damage there, so once we take that back, we'll straighten that back out and strengthen it again if it needs be. And the other bit was front chassis rail / leg. It seems to have had an impact here before. Yeah, so I did mention this earlier, before my ownership, so I don't really know what happened here. Someone stuffed it on a curb or whichever, but we're going to take the radiator out of this and then we're going to straighten all this back out and make that look like factory again. Surprisingly, it's done this here as well, so it's been a decent front impact. that's ended up bulging that up, but we can straighten this out, port powers, various tools and equipment we've got. We always notice small bits when we grind it back. There might be the odd little hole here and there, but until it goes back to bare metal now, that's all we can do. What we tend to do is note everything down with notice so nothing gets missed. Take it all back now and get messy.
Yeah. So, also, in terms of all this stuff, it's hilarious seeing all of this because this is various years of mods that I've done and also various videos I've made on the car.
All your hard work's just back off me.
Exactly. So was there anything with any of this stuff that was a bit of a nightmare, or was this all looking good?
Not at all really, and with you going for a full powder coated set to go back on, we're not really too concerned over this. Obviously your dampers and that, we'll strip down, we'll parts washer them, we'll clean all them back up, but other than that, like you say, you saw earlier, we're just chucking bolts on the floor. It's not going to get needed. We replace every bolt with a fresh one. So we label all the discs, the calipers, everything per side, because obviously your pads wear down to that disc.
Yeah.
So all them get labelled up, they go back on the correct orientation. It's strip these, clean them up, send them for blasting and powder coating, and then crack on with the shell now.
So this is everything from underneath the car, I guess, basically, isn't it?
Yes. So all these little bolts and that, we tend to just get rid of. It ends up being too much hassle trying to recoat these and sandblast them down. But all your major bolts, so that's rear camber arm bolts, various bits, front subframe, engine mount, all these will get sandblasted, re-zinc coated. Bracketry, any bracketry we have will get powder coated with the suspension arms and that. These are very common. These are the rear brake line brackets. Yours are pretty decent. I've already tapped them and tested them, so we'll blast them. They rot in the centre there, and it's quite a few MOT fails for them.
Oh, right.
Then your brake line's just hanging off the wheel arch.
Right, okay.
So, but no, they seem decent. Heat shields, they'll all get sandblasted and zinc coated back to silver.
Are these also pretty common for rusting, or?
Yes, so it's very rare. This is the rear back box one. It's very rare that one saves. As you can see, the condition of it isn't the best, but we'll blast it. If it's got no holes in that in it, mate, we'll re-put it back on.
Oh, nice.
Always get away with these. That's protected underneath the cat, centre exhaust, and that's on the bulkhead. Yeah, they normally come out pretty decent.
It's nice to know that my car isn't a bad one, which I guess I've known for a while, but it's just seeing it in this many bits, I think just further cements that to me that I somehow got so lucky that I haven't got some rust bucket, basically.
And solid, isn't it, really? Yes, the arch panels, but ultimately it's a very solid car. The main one now is it's always sills and arches regardless, and hopefully you don't need really much sill work at all.
As you've probably seen from a few of the other videos I've done here, this is the DC5 that was on the spit last time, and as it's right here, right next to my car, this has had the same treatment as what I'm going for underneath anyway. Obviously this has been on the spit and that's way more than what I'm going for, but the underside one.
This came to us as a rolling shell. Quite a lot of people know him as the white DC5 on Instagram. It's always been a track car for him, and it was getting beyond the point where he wanted to restore underneath. Now this one had been undersealed numerous times before, and I think as Dave explained to you prior, what happens is you just can't get it off, and it ends up being worse underneath, trapping moisture and that. So we actually acid dipped this car back to bare metal. So full strip, acid dip, submersion tanks. And a lot of people have seen it on the spit here when Jim was repairing it, and then it went back to be dipped again. Got called what process is called e-coating. Basically would never rot again. It gets inside the chassis legs and submerged again in tanks. And then from there on, it's been at the body shop, and we did all the underside, the paint underneath. This is ultimately the most you can go on a restoration. It cannot have any more work done. It's now a finished product, and he will build it and put his brakes and his engine back in over winter.
Oh, nice.
So it keeps him busy over winter.
So I mean, let's have a little look at this thing a bit closer up. In terms of the underside then, this is basically the same thing that's happening with mine. So it's just cool to see it in this state. So what actually is the process, so people know what's coming?
Yeah, so with it being undersealed before, we fully acid dipped this car, came back, and it may as well have been a tea bag. Jim has done a lot of fabrication, arch panels, reworking boot floors, chassis rails, legs, purely because it had been undersealed poorly before. But as you can see, everything's as factory finished now, if not better. All the panels are straight, everything's in line, and we seam sealed every gap, every panel, and then I rust encapsulated the whole car, and that's when we applied our underbody protection, and this is a tintable protection, so I mixed the championship white in with this one as it was applied. Obviously you get that finish then. So
yeah, it looks pretty cool. So I'm not actually going to go for the cosmic grey underneath mine. I think for my car, I think it'll actually be cooler it being black, because there's like black accents on the car already. Gives it a contrast, black against championship white ends up being a bit too much sometimes for people. As you can see, he's gone for 2 arms, but every nut, bolt, bracketry has all been powder coated, replaced, and the paintwork's amazing. It's immaculate. It's painted inside throughout. We've put a cage in because it is going to be a track car again. So that's the crazy thing about this one. You can see the bolts here for the cage that's been bolted in. I can lower it down for you and show the inside. The inside is immaculate as the underneath. Let's do it. Let's see it. Well, this is pretty extreme, isn't it? I mean, it's just stunning. I just can't believe this is going to be a track car. It's just immaculate. Yeah, I like the nice hit of the red against the white. It's always a classic look for these cars, but I don't even really know what to say because it's just so perfect in here now. It seems a shame that this is just going to get beaten up on track, but yeah, that's such a cool thing about it as well. The fact that the dash hasn't been cut for the roll cage or anything as well, that's really cool. This is even cleaner than it would have come from Honda, I guess, really. And as you can see, no engine in, although painted subframe in silver, so that's quite a nice touch. You guys aren't doing the engine then?
No, so Mark's going to put it all back together himself over winter. Keeps him busy. He's just got to be careful not to scratch it now.
Unbelievable final result, really, isn't it? Thanks to Dave for giving me this hat. It's very nice and warm. As you can see, all the bits are on the floor, so the guys are now going to start stripping everything down to get it all cleaned up, get stuff ready to be sent off to powder coating, but also the underside of the car is going to get fully ground back and everything. So obviously this has been the easiest part. This has actually been only a few hours of work. The real work starts now. This is everything that is why this job takes the time that it takes. All begins from this point onwards. I'll be back in about a week or so to catch up with the guys and see what the progress has been. But hopefully you guys have enjoyed this one. Like I said already, this is only part one of this series, so don't forget to come back, check out part two, when the car is going to be in a bit of a different condition than it is right now. So I'll catch you in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this one, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.